What are the odds of surviving an atomic bomb? Now, imagine surviving two in just 3 days. In the chaos and horror of World War II, millions of lives were lost. Cities were flattened. Nations were forever changed. But from the ruins emerged stories that defied all logic and probability, and none is more astonishing than that of Tsutomu Yamaguchi. A Japanese engineer with Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, Yamaguchi was an ordinary man caught in the crosshairs of humanity's most devastating weapon. In this video, you'll learn how Yamaguchi lived through not one but two nuclear explosions in a matter of days. We'll dive into what he saw, how he survived, and why his story is more relevant than ever today. Stick around to the end, because his post-war message to the world is something we all need to hear. The date was August 6, 1945. The war was nearing its bloody conclusion, and tensions across the Pacific were at their peak. Tsutomu Yamaguchi, then 29 years old, had been in Hiroshima on a 3-month assignment for Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. He worked as a marine engineer designing oil tankers. After 3 long months away from his wife and infant son, he was finally heading home. That morning, he left his boarding house and made his way to the shipyard. But just as he arrived, he realized he had forgotten his personal ID papers. As he turned around to retrieve them, the sky suddenly lit up. At exactly 8:15 a.m., the U.S. dropped the first atomic bomb ever used in warfare, Little Boy. There was a blinding flash like someone had set off 1,000 suns. Yamaguchi later described it as a magnesium flare. He instinctively dove into a ditch, and then the shockwave hit. It was like the air itself had exploded. He was thrown into the air. His eardrums ruptured. His face and arms were badly burned by the searing heat. He managed to crawl to safety, staggering through what can only be described as hell on earth. The entire city had been flattened. Concrete buildings crumbled. Fires raged uncontrollably. People wandered the streets like ghosts, burned, bleeding, and in shock. Despite his injuries, Yamaguchi found 2 of his colleagues who had also survived. Together, they spent the night in a shelter, surrounded by death and devastation. Most people would never have made it out of Hiroshima alive, let alone thought about traveling again. But Yamaguchi was determined to return home to Nagasaki. After all, his wife and son were there, and they had no idea if he was alive. The next day, August 7th, he and his co-workers boarded a train, one of the few still running, and made the grueling journey back to Nagasaki. He arrived home on August 8th, covered in bandages, partially deaf, and still in shock. But he was alive. On August 9th, Yamaguchi reported to work at the Mitsubishi plant in Nagasaki to explain to his bosses what had happened in Hiroshima. As he was describing the blinding light, the air raid sirens sounded. At 11:02 a.m., the second atomic bomb, Fat Man, was dropped. Once again, Yamaguchi saw the sky erupt in white. Once again, the shockwave blew out the windows and tore through the city. This time, the devastation was different. Nagasaki's geography, with its hills and valleys, somewhat limited the blast radius. But it was still catastrophic. Over 70,000 people died. Thousands more were injured or poisoned by radiation. Yamaguchi, still healing from Hiroshima, now bore fresh injuries from a second nuclear blast. In the days following the bombing, Yamaguchi was plagued by radiation sickness. His hair fell out. He vomited uncontrollably. His burns festered. But over time, his body began to heal. In the decades that followed, Tsutomu Yamaguchi began to share his story more openly. He became a vocal advocate for nuclear disarmament, speaking to students, journalists, and eventually the United Nations. In 2006, he wrote a memoir and several poems reflecting on the bombings. One of his most powerful quotes: "The reason that I hate the atomic bomb is because of what it does to the dignity of human beings." He believed that by sharing what he had endured, he could help prevent such horrors from ever happening again. In 2009, the Japanese government officially recognized him as a survivor of both Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the only person to receive that designation. He died in 2010 at the age of 93, but his story continues to echo across time. Yamaguchi's survival is often described as a statistical impossibility. But his legacy is not just about luck. It's about resilience. It's about the human spirit. And it's a stark reminder of what nuclear weapons are capable of. He never glorified his survival. In fact, he saw it as a responsibility, a duty to speak on behalf of those who never got the chance. Having experienced atomic bombings twice and survived, it is my destiny to talk about it. Tsutomu Yamaguchi. If you love mind-blowing videos like this, hit subscribe so you don't miss out. As always, thanks for watching and see you in the next one.